Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in today. Okay, I believe you can see me. Um, yeah, can anyone hear me, please? I just want to be sure you can hear me. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's good to see Ario is in, one of our guests today. Um, yeah, Almighty Ofure is in. Good to have you in. Please, can anyone hear me? I just want to be sure.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. Thank you. Fantastic. It's 3 p.m. already. We're just trying to wait for the admin to accept others to join in. Thank you for joining in early. Fantastic afternoon we intend to have here today. Okay, good. Thank you. Please, just a few minutes so that we can be sure that we have fuller house. All right. Okay, so we're having this session across several platforms. We have some persons joining us on IG. We have some persons joining us on YouTube. We have some joining us here, and I think on LinkedIn. So I'm just going to get the approval from the admin to be sure we can start. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. All right. Please, if you don't mind, our guest, thank you for joining in early. If you don't mind, please, you can, put on your video so that our guests can get to see you, and just feel at home. Oh, wow. Ofri, it's good to see your face.
See you again, Tosin.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you the last time you were in our consultant session. Fantastic moments we had. Great value was gotten. Thank you so much for, being a fantastic value to ADC. And hope UK is doing very fine today.
Yes, it's fair. It's okay.
Yeah,
UK, you always talk about the weather. So
right.
it's positive. It's okay. The market is also
Okay.
doing well. We're hopeful.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you.
Aria is joining us from Canada, and I know it's quite early. So perhaps Aria, hope you're awake. Oh, great. I wanted to check that you were still sleeping. Aria, it's good to see you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much. It's morning already, and yeah, it's good to check in.
Yeah.
I'm awake.
Oh, fantastic. And I think Canada's weather is very good on you. I mean, you're looking so great.
Yeah, today is quite sunny. So I just came back from
Okay.
football. So Saturday mornings, I try to exercise a bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
whoa.
it's a good day.
Oh, fantastic. So, Aria, you still have the time to play football as a tech expert?
Uh, it's all about work-life balance, right? You have to try to
I thought it's all about making money. So, still play football.
you make the money, and then you have to also stay early, right? We'll try our
Great,
best.
great. Yeah, great. I look forward to us having a lot of fun and value, to be shared across our guests this afternoon. I'm certain we have a lot of persons that are joining us this afternoon because of the quality of guests we have. Um, and I'm sure that we have a lot of people already on the IG page, on the YouTube, and I'm certain a lot of people will be joining us here too. But just before we start, I just like to, share the way we do it. I know Ofre has been here before. I think Ariel too, and quite a lot of persons have been here. Olamide is supposed to join us any moment, but Olamide is also in Canada, and there was a good news, around his personal life, and so he might be joining in late. But I think we need to get into this, and I'm going to be starting with Ofre. Ofre, please, do you mind telling us about you? Now, if I am correct, I know you started from Nigeria, from the little background research I did about you, but you are an outlier now, Ofre, in the United Kingdom. I mean, tell us about you. Let's meet you. How did this all started in Nigeria? I mean, I'm not sure you started as a tech person, maybe from your university. Wow. 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 Please, our guests, our audience will really love to meet you. They really want to hear your story.
Okay. Yes. So I like to think of myself as just this curious person who is looking for problems to solve. It all started for me. I did my master's right after NYC in food science and technology, and then I was really curious about how to blend brand and marketing and tech. That was the real focus. And I was then as at that time, the problem I was really looking into was food insecurity in Nigeria, because during NYC there was just a lot of food waste going on in the north, which I'm sure it still is, and that was what tickled my fancy. And well, on coming back to Nigeria, there was nobody that was listening to me. It's either I was going to work in the agencies, which felt really boring at that time.
Okay.
Personally, and then I kind of got introduced to the concept of brand management, advertising, as that's one of the best channels to get businesses to listen to you. So we could use like social marketing as an avenue of addressing some of the concerns I had, which was beautiful for me. I started off with advertising agency. I think that's even really all I did in Nigeria. I was always just changing different advertising agencies because I was working with certain brands over time. I worked on SCB Mila sometimes to launch Hero Lager beer in the East. And it got to a point where I just got tired of doing only the campaigns. I really wanted to solve the real issues. So I could see a lot of my clients struggling with budget, struggling with, adopting social media and justifying the investment in that space. And I knew from where I sat that technology, it was the future from that point, which really is no longer future, it's now. And I really wanted to be part of that whole change. So I think the light bulb moment for me really started from, apart from trying to push social media marketing, push some experiential marketing on digital, I got to the point where I was really helping leadership. Then I was working with Troika Group, that's Inside Communications, Bonnet, to be precise. And I was one of the people that was selected to support the leadership on some data transformation program project that we had. Okay. I was so excited. I remember just being happy, looking at capturing business requirements, just walking through that whole process end to end, supporting the team, even getting to the point of delivering training, working with them. I remember winning a trophy during the training. I was just excited about the whole program. And it was so frustrating to see that particular program didn't kick off. It failed, sort of. It was like a failed investment. And I could see the leadership really grumbling, not happy that they had invested a lot of money in some transformation programs. So for me personally, I took that as a challenge. How do we solve this? So that's how my issues or rather my challenge seeking just kept evolving. So it was more like, how do you really help businesses, save money? Again, still drawing from that food insecurity. For me now, it was more like, how do you really stop waste? Especially when it comes to digital transformation. I saw too many failures going on. And that was how from there, I got myself in a role where I was doing both strategy for advertising and product. So in that opportunity, I was able to, learn more about digital operations, what are the key things that you need to think of as a product manager, as an agile coach, and also even as a user research. So that's how I pivoted, to cut the long story short. I found myself, of course, I was one of the people who jackpot after INSAS. And so, okay, you know what, I'm not making a mistake. How do we really make sure we're really focused on digital transformation this time around? And I got a role in EY here as the digital transformation and agile transformation manager. So that's what I do here now. So yeah, I hope I didn't take too much time. Just trying to give you guys the full context of this kind of find yourself solving problems. Yeah.
I mean, thank you for sharing that very holistic story with us. But
Sure.
From your story, I've seen a lady who was hungry. She was hungry for knowledge. She was hungry for solving problem.
Yeah.
She was hungry for making a change. I mean, you said it that you were just going out through the end-to-end, relationship, looking for something. And I saw that fire. I mean, I could see that burning fire. But tell us, Ofure, before we go to Ario, how difficult was it to transition?
Yeah, so I think what really helped me first, and that's the foundation. Then I'll tell you the challenges I encountered. What really helped me was the naivety of offering. Remember, you read science. My first degree was chemistry. This master's in science and technology. Then you went into MBA when you saw that digital transformation problem. Offer, you can do this. You went into advertising. You won awards. You can do this. You can transition again to product. So that was that naivety kind of like was my bliss. But the challenges that I found as I kept going is that the product management space, or you could say the whole digital development space, is quite a very fast-paced one. And unfortunately at the same time, you're working with a lot of, will I call them eye-shaped individuals, really the tech guys. This sometimes for some of them, most of the people I've worked with, this is all they've done all their lives for 20 years, 15 years. And they don't have time to be fixing the tire and explaining to you while the car is moving. So that was the biggest shocker. And then to top it off for me, I also had the challenge with learning the nuances at the beginning, knowing the right terms to use. Like when you're talking about agile project management or agile workflows, they're completely different from your usual water for workflows. So things like that, I kind of found it a bit challenging. And my first project in EU, I had to do with an AI product management role, which was like being thrown out into the wind. So it's just that whole, how do you pick up the pace and cover up the gaps? So those were my major challenges. And how I did that was really keeping a great network of friends. But there's one of my people that I reached out to at the beginning, who broke down UX design for me, himself and Peter. Reaching out to people who I've got women in my cohort who explain to me, okay, these are the kind of certifications to go for, the kind of books to read. So it's not just about just ticking the box on certification, but really having hands-on knowledge at the same time. And then I have mentors at my workplace where if I see that you've got a skill that I really want to quickly embrace, I connect with you. And I also have like a taxonomy of like keywords that I quickly just started writing. I've got sticky notes here. And that helped me quickly to, catch up sort of. And I'm still catching up. It never ends, right? So yeah, so that's it.
Wow. So your network was a huge help.
Yes.
I could feel that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to have that network. Yeah. I mean, thank you so much, Ofure, for sharing that with us. Fantastic. All right, we're coming back to you, Ofure. Quite a lot of questions we have already for you. But let's get to Ario. Ario, please tell us about you. I mean, from your name, Ario, it shows you're a Yoruba man. I mean, you came from Yoruba land. So how did you get to Canada, and you're now an outflyer in Canada, doing fantastic well as a tech expert?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Ario, and I'm from Nigeria, Yoruba side of Nigeria. My dad is from Ocean State, my mom is from Ogun State, and I was born and raised in Lagos. Yeah. So as regards my tech story, I think my turning point was during my internship. So in Nigeria, we call it IT. I think towards the second to the last year of your bachelor's degree, you go out to the industry relating to your field, and then you have some field experience. So prior to that time, like normal regular Nigerian students, I got admitted into a university, FUTA, and I was given a course. I just didn't even understand what it was, agricultural engineering. And but most of my colleagues then, like my friends in Lagos then, most of them did not even get admission. And I was given this kind of vibe, should I say, like you are even fortunate. So even though I did not like the course, I had to just go in because I was even considered privileged. Yeah. So I was flunking my grades. I wasn't really doing well. I really just did not even enjoy my time there. Then fast forward to my fourth year, I went for IT, and luckily I was working with Cadbury, which is a beverage producer there in Lagos there. And that was where I really had like a change of mind. So by 7 months in Cadbury, I was really fascinated with the automation processes there. I really liked the way things worked without humans really wanting to really do much. They were reduced human part of it. It's more computerized, it's more digitalized. And so that was the first part. And then the second part is that my best friend, Monday, also we have something very similar, right? He was not interested in the field.
Okay.
He came to Futa, so we met in school, and he wasn't really doing well too. So and similar to myself, he was doing his IT in, I think, flour mill. So he also got exposed to very automated systems of engineering. So when we came back from our IT for our final year, we started talking, and he told me how his uncle had informed him about scholarship in China. So based on our new interest in automation, we decided to apply for mechatronics scholarship in China. So luckily, I got admitted into software engineering. And when I got into the university, blank, I didn't know what, that was for my MSc, right? I didn't know what software engineering was, whatever it is. I met my supervisor, which was the dean there. And he called me into his office. He mentioned all of the areas of disciplines that I might choose from as a student. And they mentioned machine learning. Like, I like that thing, but I don't know what it is. So I was really honest with him. And fortunately, he was very keen on taking chance on me. He just told me, look, I don't mind you don't know these things, right? Masters in China is 2 years. The first year is academics and the second year is practical. So if you think you can put in the effort the first 1 year, this will be your own bachelor's degree. Do you think it's something you can do? And reluctantly, I was just like, oh, I'll try. And that was how everything happened. I started getting interested in the field. So I realized I was having a crack of it. And from there, after my master's, he chose to retain me for my PhD. After my PhD, he gave me work as a postdoc. And after a while, I realized I'm not really keen on academia. So I relocated to the UK. I started my role as machine learning engineer with a telecommunications company called Virgin Media. So I worked there for 2 years, and my family and I decided to relocate to Canada, where we would stay permanently, and move to Canada, continue the role in industry as a machine learning engineer. And I think that's majorly I would say the broad overview of my story into tech.
Wow. I mean, you have a very fascinating story also. And I'm really super excited because Ofri just told us how her background started from science. And Ario also has just shown us that he didn't start from tech. I mean, but today, Ario is doing fantastic. I don't know if the English is correct, but he's doing very well in tech. Ofri is doing very well. I mean, these are people people look up to. Ofri is a consultant in the UK, and she's doing a whole lot. And today we are very certain we're going to get a lot of value from these guys. But Ofri, I would like to come back to you. Do you mind telling us what are your primary responsibilities as a product owner or a product manager? Forgive me, but an agile or a product manager. What is your life like as a product manager?
Okay, perfect. So being a product manager within consulting has been another shocker. So because in consulting we tend to spend more time sometimes. You have two aspects to it. So it's either you're spending a lot of time being brought in at the beginning of that program, that digital transformation program, whereby you have to align with the business on what's their vision, what are the KPIs, what's the strategy, how viable is this solution, building this capability in line with their own enterprise capability as a business. So for example, if we're looking at an end-to-end transformation, let me be more specific. I'm just trying not to go into too much details. So we're trying to integrate or introduce an ERP system. So ERP are like your back end management for resource management for businesses. So how they take in orders, introducing platforms like Salesforce, for example. And to do that, sometimes while here as a consultant, I might be brought in at the beginning to analyze the need of the business and understand how the particular solution that we're going with actually matches and solves the problem. So you might find me doing a lot of business case analysis, and at the same time, sometimes I might just be called in also to do like some high level requirement gathering for that solution building. And there are times also I'm brought in at the middle, which is a kickoff point for development, where we now cascade those high level requirements into user stories, which is what my team is start working with. And I iterate with them back and forth with tests, run a lot of user testing. I've also had the privilege of just being strictly user research and a UX designer by the side. That's something I've done on the project. So it really just depends on, well, I say the project lifecycle that I'm brought in as a consultant. But what's so exciting about being a consultant and a product manager at the same time is I get to experience the different, the different points where we are needed. So whether it's at the beginning, whether it's at the kickoff point of the development itself, whether it's sustaining that whole project management cycle, as a BA, or even being a BA also, is also our advice that it's good to have UX research skills because it just goes hand in hand. When you have to do analysis of your business, then at the same time, help with design of what that solution would look like. Those are the areas that I am focusing a lot on. So it allows me to manage the team, not only from the business angle, but also looking at how adoption will look like for the customer, the experience of it. So that's what my day-to-day looks like, is just constantly picking up those gaps, making sure that the client, that's the business is aligned with the solution we're developing, everyone is collaborating at the same time, and the user is at the center. Basically, that's what I do.
So Opry, if I get you right, it means if I understand you better, it means you're not behind the laptop pressing some codes or looking for some missing codes. I mean, because a lot of people, that is what they usually think, including myself. When I started in tech, I used to always think tech. When you hear the word tech, you are pressing in some code and all of that. I mean, So it means you are always in a meeting or something.
So no, it's a mixture of it. So like I said, it depends on the project I'm working on. So currently I'm working on a data analytics project, and I've had to do some Power BI reports, like build some reports with data analysis. So that has pushed my skills in terms of advanced data analysis to a particular level, using SQL to extract data from like snowflakes. I'm building a report. That's something I'm exploring now, and I'm really doing well at that to back up whatever product analysis that we're doing for that product, because we have to justify why we have to invest, why this is the next feature to build. And I'm using data analytics with my team to always, make sure we're building those business cases and tracking performance. I really haven't had, even when I was an AI product manager, I've never had to really do like the hardcore, the beautiful things Ario is doing, which I really admire, like the whole machine learning, building those languages. Instead, when I work with people as fantastic as Rio, I'm thinking more of the user, program, our budget, and the testing. Is this really passing for example, what they call that in AI when they talk about accuracy testing, acceptance testing? Is this really passing what has been agreed to, and communicate that back to the technical team? So I do a lot of those communications, the planning, the testing, the design, coming back again, go through that whole cycle. I've even done Scrum Master at the same time, because sometimes the teams I'm assigned to are so lean. Someone needs to bring in that sense of accuracy, of which I'm sure we'll talk about collaboration as we move on. But yeah, that's what it looks like. No code, not as technical as Aria, is more of making sure Aria is happy, people like him are happy and really getting the best of their own skill too. So that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And guys, please, let's begin to come up with our questions. Opry just told us, Opry is an expert. She's a consultant. She's in tech. But she just told us that she's not necessarily behind the computers looking for some missing code. It's not really about the codes. I hope you are getting this value, because a lot of people, that is the concept they'll usually think, and it makes them run away. Oh, tech is code. No, it's not necessarily that you are pressing some codes. All right, thank you.
Just quickly on that. So currently now I'm doing a course on API. And I'm looking forward to doing something on cloud computing, emphasis on that of Amazon. And the reason why I'm thinking of doing all these courses is not necessarily to learn the hardcore coding, and which I personally I could be faulted on, but I somewhere think that coding might be replaced with AI. It's just a thought. Ever since Python came in and simplified things, but I may be wrong. But I'm not the expert, but instead I focus more on understanding the architecture of that solution, understand how things interact. So I learned a lot from the tech guys to understand, okay, like when I was working on an AI product, I wanted to understand what are those, what do you mean by logic, what do you mean by rules, business rules, how do I understand those things so that we know what we're building is viable. So it's good to still learn about those things, but you might not necessarily have to get your hands like completely dirty on the details.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Opere. Let's go to Ario. Ario, you are an expert. You are a senior machine learning operator, or if I'm correct, you might correct us. Ario, how do you mind telling us how your day-to-day looks like as a tech expert in this line?
Yeah, thank you. So primarily I work as a MLOps engineer, right? So MLOps is machine learning operations. And what it does is add machine learning and operations. The operations come from DevOps. So machine learning, the first part is developing machine learning models, right? So what does that mean? You have certain tasks in your organization, and then you feel like you don't want, that requires cognitive ability, right? It requires some thinking, some computation. So normally human beings will do that, but you want to take out that and you want to use something artificial, computer models to do that, right? So I think an example that is very popular nowadays, autonomous cars, right? Driverless cars. Instead of having your driver drive you around, you want your car to drive you around. So that is the part now. So that's machine learning. And then the operations part is now you want to scale this. So you're not thinking of just one model in production. How do you expand to 10, 200, perhaps millions, without them conflicting themselves? That's the operations part. So if you have changes over time, you have a model in production, how do you bring a new one without those two having issues? So the machine learning part is developing the thing, and then the operations part is the day-to-day, like every other day, maintaining and seeing how those things goes on. So that's basically what I do now on a normal day.
So it means you are also behind the scene pressing codes, or you just go for meetings, or you are just, we want to have a feel like, what really do you do? Like, because people want to understand how difficult this tech thing is, or how easy is it to transition into it, you know? So if you don't mind, if you could just give us more insight into, I go to the office, I just open my laptop, I press the computer, we just want to have a feel, into how your life looks like as an engineer, as an MLOps engineer.
Yeah, good question. So I'm quite the opposite of what Ofure is. So in tech, as you know, there are like more roles, different roles. Some of them are hands-on, some of them are not, some are mid. My role is very hands-on, right? So as a machine learning engineer, you have to be hardcore. You have to write code, develop models, because these models, you write them, right? So mostly in programming language, right? That's a starting point. The top one is Python, right? So, and then with Python, you have other libraries that you can use to develop machine learning, right? You have TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, Scikit-learn, whatever it is now. So you use those to build your model, right? And nowadays, I think Ofre mentioned that most big organizations will not run on their on-prem or on their local computer, right? So they will go to cloud. The three major ones are AWS, which is Amazon, GCP, Google, and Azure, which is Microsoft. So I'm more of a Google guy, so I work with GCP. So all of my roles, the companies I've worked with, I make sure they are companies that use GCP. Right? So now in GCP, so now I'm getting a little bit into the stuff. I don't know if people enjoy this, right? So in GCP, the major tool for developing machine learning is Vertex. So now with Vertex, what it does, it helps you to orchestrate your pipeline. So machine learning now has so many components, so many stages. Starts from data ingestion, right? So you get the data from some sources, then you do some feature engineering. Feature engineering is like, how do you clean up data? How do you make sure this data is good and trainable, and the model will get the right pattern from it, right? And then you move to the part of maybe model development itself. Then when you develop your model, you want to evaluate it. So there's something we call test, validation, I don't know. So those two is just to make sure.
We're enjoying this, Ario.
So those two is just to make sure that the model you've built understands what it's doing, right? So you don't want, like the driverless car example, right? You don't want a driverless car that does not, that cannot differentiate between human being and the road, right? You want that car to understand, okay, this is somebody crossing. I shouldn't go and hit that person. This is the road. This is a pole. This is an oncoming car. I shouldn't go towards that, right? So we evaluate the model before we put it into production. So there are certain metrics we watch out for based on the task, right? So after you evaluate and the model is good, if the model is not good, you have to retrain. You have to understand why the model is not good. Is it the data? Is it what you have developed that is trash? So after you meet all of those, should I say parameters, then you deploy into production. Now, deploying into production is not the end because new data come in every day, right? You want to make sure that whatever you have in production is good. At some point, models decay, right? The model is not good. That's basically mean. So you want to be able to retrain new model, get it into production without downtime, right? And then you want to monitor things that are going on in your ecosystem. So did I go a bit into the details now?
No, I mean, fantastic. I mean, I got some messages here where people say, oh, they're enjoying this technical aspect of the webinar. So thank you for sharing that, Ariel. So I would like to go back to my dear Ofure. Ofure, please, I'd like you to tell us, what are those crucial skills that is needed for a product owner or a product manager to be successful?
I think number one is to really understand the domain. So there's something that there's a change in market that I've noticed. When I started out in this whole, search for product management roles, I realized that people were more lenient. They were just open to, as long as you've got the, the key skills like managing teams, project, BA skills and stuff like that, agile understanding. But now it's getting a little bit more sectorized. People are now asking for product managers in fintech or in health tech, they're asking for more niche individuals. And that gets me thinking really that for you to really succeed as a product manager in something, is either you're a pro or at least in-depth, you've got in-depth understanding of a particular solution, like what Ariel was talking about. If you're looking at AI, machine learning, if that's the space you really want to build your demonstrate a lot of your efforts, your experience, that's something worth looking out for, either a particular domain or a sector. So you're looking at how a sector is evolving over time, because as a product manager, it's good for you to understand the business regulation, understand the policies, the changes that are happening, and how all those things also influences what you're doing. So for example, the data analytics team that I'm working with now, I've been introduced to data governance, which wasn't something I used to just hear of, but not something I was really close to. But now I've had to develop like data governance processes and policy handbooks, just simply because this particular industry is very sensitive to how we handle, their customers' data. So things like that really does help. And I think number two, apart from like your domain knowledge that you grow over time, for me will also be just being curious about how the user, experiences the product, curious about what's really the problem we're trying to solve here. Because what I've seen happen over time is, as passionate as we all are as professionals, it's very easy for us to get carried away with how, the fact that we've got a deadline, or we've got, we're enjoying our jobs, the way we all sound right now on this call. But there are times where you have to probably halt because there's an issue that has come up. Customer has moved on to substitute. So things like that it's very good it's very important, or rather it's easy for you to spot it when you're curious. So that's one thing that I would say. And the third one for me is, how do you humble yourself and work with your teams? As much as possible with working with my tech teams, it's very easy for us to get carried away as product managers that I am the CEO of my products. That's how Google so if you Google it, you'll see this kind of definitions. It's true. You should have the entrepreneurial mindset, but so should everyone really. But you should, because visibly you're like the scapegoat. If anything goes wrong, we're back on schedule, or a product didn't go right, or a code wasn't working. Very weird. It wasn't your fault directly, but they all come back to the product manager. What's going on? So definitely that's a good hack. But humility to me is very important. No matter how many years of experience you have as a product manager, don't ever think you know more than your product your tech teams. Don't ever think that. So I think that those would be my top 3 skills, for anyone.
Fantastic. But permit me to just ask again, so our audience can understand what really does it mean to be a product owner or a product manager? Because personally, I know you are more like an interface between the customers or the users. And so I mean, I know there are quite a number of persons here who are saying, oh, I want to be a product owner, I want to be a product manager. By the way, we have a lot of people joining us on Instagram, on YouTube, and here on Zoom. Please, if you have your questions, you can begin to drop them in the comment section of either Zoom, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're hearing us from. Our admins will pick those questions. All right. So, Ofre, please tell us, maybe, in just an answer, what does it mean? Yeah.
Okay. So, I will use my lay-term understanding of this, right? But I'm sure ChatGPT can do a better job. So product managers really are like your business, it's like your business head basically for that product team. He or she is responsible for the business alignment with what is being developed, the timeline, the roadmap, making sure that everyone is carried along, making sure that everything that has been ticked off is really in terms of quality. We've checked it with the consumers, we've checked it with our tech guys in terms of viability. We've checked it also with budget. Kind of like that's why they call the product manager most times as a CEO, right? That's what it is. And then a product owner role, really, you've got 2 types, and I sometimes think it's the same, but I understand why people split it. But a product owner is more like the one who is the legal representation of the user in the middle of production. It's so weird how technical guys will turn to a product owner for every little details about, am I doing the right thing? Is this what they want? Is this what the consumer wants? Are you sure about this? Is this the final use case? Because the product owner, literally, as the name says, you own what is being built. So sometimes you have business product owners that are more in tune into, the business environment, the business alignment, the user requirements, but they're not involved in the tech. So, for example, they don't really care about, or rather they don't know so much about like the layers of the stack, the tech stack being used in developing the product. They don't really go in depth into the decision making of should we have a technical depth at this stage or not. But you might have some roles that they require you as a product owner to know that as well. So that's so like for me, I would consider myself more of a product owner that has technical skills so far in UX design and research, because those are the places that I flourish more. But over time, I know to expand that, it's good to know more and own more of those conversations from the technical point of view, because sometimes you have 2, 3 technical guys, they've got wonderful ideas, but someone just needs to take a vote. And you need a product owner there to be able to, keep facilitating that conversation and help them realize what's the best or not. And if you don't have those understanding as a product owner, you really can't own those conversations. So I think that's the best way to break it down. It's different between both. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. I believe our audience are gaining value. Please begin to drop in your questions. This program or this webinar is basically for you, and we just want you to have a taste of what it looks like. That's why we are bringing these experts, to be able to talk to us today. All right, Ariyo, let's come back to you. Please, Ariyo, do you mind telling us? I mean, we have a lot of people who are joining this webinar, and quite a number of them want to know what does it mean to be an engineer, for a machine learning operation. But basically, the question is, do you mind, telling us or explaining to us the concept of machine learning operation, and why is it critical in deploying machine learning models today? In the world that we are in now.
Yeah, good question. So, machine learning, like I explained, is the process of building artificial models to replace human beings in tasks that require cognitive activity, right? So things that require thinking. Human beings, we have brain, so we can navigate our way around. Now, how do we reduce these tasks or this burden on human beings? Can't we have computers doing them? That is where machine learning comes in, right? So how it works basically is that you get a lot of data, right? So let me come from the human being perspective, right? So because what machine learning actually means, especially a part of machine learning or artificial intelligence, should I say, it's called a neural network. So that is built of, or it mimics how human brains works. right? So if you have a baby, a new child, they don't understand anything. If you want them to know things, you teach it to them, right? So if you have like a 1-year-old or 2-year-old or 3-year-old, for example, if you hold these every day and say, this is a phone, the child might not understand it immediately, right? Because that's the first time the child is understanding or getting exposed to that. You do that consistently after a week. After the 8th day, you ask the child, what is this?
Yeah.
Probably the child said, this is a phone. So you have been able to teach it out. So it's the same process with machine learning too. So because what we do is we get a whole lot of data and then we feed it to algorithms. Let me just say computer code for them to understand what it is, right? So a very simple example is like cat and dog. So if you want to train a model that understands that this is a cat and this is a dog, you get thousands of images of cats, you get thousands of images of dog, right? Say 20,000, 50,000, millions, right? So, and then you pass that to the model and then you label it. So you let the computer basically know that when you see this kind of picture, this is a cat, this is a dog. You feed that over time. Then what the model is doing under the hood is trying to find out features, right? So just like human being, mostly I believe dogs have like longer ears compared to cats. Dogs will probably be taller than cats. Dogs will have certain colors that cats do not have. So what the model is doing under the hood is trying to figure out patterns, features that it can help it distinguish between dogs and cats. And that is broadly how it extends to almost all the other tasks, right? So this process that I've explained is one branch. It's called supervised learning. So because we're giving it data, we're giving it label. Label means we're telling it this is what it is. So we are trying to like force it. You must know this thing, right? So it's just like the way teachers and students act in class, right? So that is the most successful machine learning way of training model. They have other type like unsupervised, semi-supervised, reinforcement learning, and all of those.
Yeah. I mean, very technical. Ario is so sound. I mean, it's so. I mean, I'm getting a lot of feedbacks here, and a lot of people are just saying, "Wow, this is great. This is great." But Ario, do you mind telling us, because we have a lot of newbies here who are interested in machine learning? If someone wants to transition into machine learning, I'd like you to talk on two things. Presently, you are an expert. You're a senior person in that role. What are some of the tools and technology you use? And if we have someone who is a newbie, maybe someone who is working as a marketing personnel, or someone who is working as a head of operation in a company, or someone who is just working outside tech, how do you think the person can become a machine learning engineer? So what are the tools and technologies you currently use? And for a newbie who don't know anything, how can the person transition?
Yeah, good one. So I think the baseline is programming, right? So let me say the beginning is soft skills, right? You have interest and you're curious about it, right? Because this requires like hours of, just like any other field, requires hours of work, sitting on your computer and getting things done, right? So if you tick all of those boxes, then you now want to go into the technical part and tools, right? I'll say the baseline is programming, right? You have to understand programming, and there are several programming languages out there, right? You have Python, Java, R. Those, I believe, are the top ones when it comes to machine learning. But I would suggest for new people coming in, right? Always go to Python, right? Because that is more developed in machine learning. So other languages are good with other things, but in machine learning, Python is still the number one, right? So you understand basis of Python, you understand things like functions, you understand, the programming language, right? So you understand variables, understand class, understand all of these things. Then you can now start looking at machine learning itself. So we have classical machine learning, and then we have the modern one. The classical ones, they are quite simple. So when you have complex tasks, they can't do them. So we have things like random forest algorithm, decision trees, and all of that. So those ones, so these things might sound very difficult. The good thing is now we have libraries that you can call, install, and then you can use them to run your or build your model. So scikit-learn is very good for that. You have scikit-learn, it covers basically, I would say 70 or 80% of the classical machine learning algorithms out there. Now, with the new one, neural networks, deep learning, which can be used for like more advanced stuff, like these LLMs you say, ChatGPT, all of those advanced stuff, right? So with those, then you need some other libraries. I think your doesn't is Can you hear me? Okay. So with those one, you need other libraries. So the top ones again, TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch. So you don't need to learn all of them. Just pick one, start gradually, and then you see how these things lead to the next one. So for example, if you start with TensorFlow, definitely you end with Keras because those two have been matched together. So you take it step by step. So that is the programming part, Python, and then the machine learning libraries, which I've mentioned, TensorFlow, Keras, a bunch of them. So I think another skill you will need is probably containerization and orchestration. So the big one is Docker, Kubernetes. So those two are also there. Then maybe you want to start looking into CI/CDs, right? CI/CD is the process of I have model in production. How do I automate the process, right? So like I mentioned, sometimes model decay. How do you get new model into your system without disrupting production because certain people are using it, right? So CI/CD does that, is continuous integration and continuous development, right? So the big ones are Jenkins, we have GitLab CI, we have GitHub Actions, and all of those, right? What other thing is it? Then cloud. I think nowadays the big one that you really have to have is you need to have like sound cloud knowledge because most companies now work with cloud. So you can stick to whichever one of them. I think they're all good.
Fantastic. I'm sure that quite a number of people have told, I've received quite a number of messages here and I'm really interested in machine learning. You have already, you can easily connect with him, but we'll get to that aspect. But quickly, let's go back to Ofre. Ofre, you just told us that you are a consultant, you are a product manager. And you, in your words, you spoke about how you collaborate with a number of technical teams and different roles like that. And you also spoke about that your work is usually around stakeholders. Maybe the audience, the users, and all of that. What are some of the challenges that you usually face, and how do you best collaborate with these people? These different cross-functional teams. How do you really collaborate with them, or what are some of the challenges you have faced being a product manager, being a product owner?
Okay, for the sake of the natural flow, let me go back to my AI product manager role that I had, or management role that I handled at some point. So one of the biggest gap or challenge I had then was just understanding the business rules. So business rules basically is saying that this is what you should, this is the output you should get for every time you interact with this particular model using an interface, right? So at the back end, we are supposed to have programmed it with the tech guys on, this is the data we have, this is the business rule, please align with it. All this whole conversation was completely foreign to me. I remember quickly just picking up a Udemy course on AI or data product management, and still it didn't help. So what I did with that was I disguised it as a Scrum of Scrum meeting, where I would have meetings with certain individuals from the machine learning engineering team and just say, I'm just trying to catch up on, all the developments of, what you guys are doing, and then show you what I've done so far. And I became more hands-on in helping them with like the data gathering, data cleaning, and also arranging the data in such a way that it was easy for us to just lift and shift and apply, the business rule to different contexts. So one of the things that I would say really helped me was giving them a very well-defined use case use cases for the different rules that we were building. So that's something sometimes we forget it as BAs or product managers, just focus on, we're doing user stories, deal with it. But it's really helpful when you're able to work with them and get to the granular details of what should this look like? What does this look like? Because I noticed that a lot of them were just focused on, they had too many things to do. So when you just come with such an open, or you felt it was a well-defined user story, but it wasn't well broken down into samples. What does this look like? What's our definition of done? What does acceptance really look like? If all those things that weren't clearly defined, it was hard for us to, spot gaps in those definitions. And I found it very useful that the more I reached out to them, showed them what I was working on, one-on-one before reaching out to like a full team, things just started going like really smoothly. At some point, they were asking me, in fact, my feedback from some of the engineering teams are like, Opera should be she should think of becoming an AI engineer because she's more interested in it than we are. Because I really, I just got really close to them, and that really helped. Another challenge that I think I have seen over time is the business, from the business side. So the clients, they want you to build Skyrock, a rocket ship. They want you to do all these wonderful things, but they're not. It's either they're not patient, or they start to shift their priorities left and right, which can be really frustrating for my team members. So how I've done having to manage that is really make sure we always have like alignment sessions. So we've got like regular stakeholder management sessions where we check in on progress, and at the same time we keep reviewing, priorities from their own end, and just to make sure that expectations are aligned. Sometimes I've got some troublesome clients, to be very fair. So what I do again, my Scrum of Scrum, copy and paste trick. I just reach out to certain people and form like a regular cadence and say, "Oh, nothing serious. I just want to align with you. Just make sure I like what you do. I like just to make sure we're aligned on on the same page." And then once that alignment is done, people can even speak on behalf of our team without me being present in the room. So that's how. Some days are still tough, but so far I've gotten a lot of will I say success from just always making sure I'm aligned and learning on my own, also to catch up where needed.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, fantastic, beautiful challenges. But Ofre, from these challenges you've just shown us, we have a number of newbies here who are thinking, oh, I want to be a product owner, I want to become a product manager. Would you say becoming a product owner or being a product manager is difficult?
So it depends.
Easy? Okay.
It depends on the company and the team, especially the maturity of your team that you're working with. So if you get a job after promising heaven and earth, you killed your interview, and then you get a job with some badass tech guys who have been doing the same product for like, let's say 5 years, 10 years. They know the in and out of all the difficulties, even with the stakeholders, and some of them are probably even disgruntled depending on the organization. And then you get in and you're trying to form, just ticking the box, playing by the rules. It can really be hard, especially when the gap starts to show. So I would say, as much as possible, try to start as easy or small as possible. So what I chose consulting is that as a consultant, I though it's beginning to look like I can't hide anymore. I thought I could hide under like the senior managers, the partners. They would have cascaded what the workflow should look like. Then I carry it on from there. But that kind of helped me in a way. But another thing that has helped me too to manage that, show of gap is I've drawn from my existing strengths and experiences in strategy and planning. So it doesn't look like, so I can overcome. Well, basically, what I'm saying is I can overcompensate for the gaps I have in the tech knowledge space, if you get my point. And that allows me to catch up quickly over time. So I would say just make sure you're going into a team that you already understand what the requirements are of you. I have people, I know some friends that have advised them, why don't you go in as an IT project manager before you go into product? Some I advise them, why don't you go in as a BA or a Scrum Master? And the reason is that allows you to still, as a BA, you can listen, you can write what people are saying, you can learn technical writing, right? And the more you're exposed with in that environment, you start to learn the nuances, you start to learn the challenges that you can solve, and then you pick up the slacks. And sometimes you might be lucky enough to get promoted within those companies and transfer from an IT project manager to product. You get what I mean? So just try to see what your strengths are, and then be very, very mindful of the maturity of the teams. That's what I would say.
Wow, fantastic. So in a nutshell, Ofre is telling us that it's not necessarily difficult, but if you get it right in the kind of team, you truly will enjoy it. Thank you so much, Ofre, for that. Let's go back to Ario, and then we can go to question and answer sessions. Ario, please, do you mind telling us, or let me ask, do you mind telling us about a project you're currently working on? What does it look like? What kind of people do you work with, or do you work alone? And then I'll begin to ask some of the questions that people are already sending in. So do you mind talking around the project you're currently working on or that you've worked on before in the past, so people can have an idea or a taste of what they are coming into?
Yeah, so as a machine learning engineer or MLOps engineer, you wouldn't work alone. You won't work in silo. Mostly you work closely with data scientists because the machine learning platform you're building, they will most likely take that tool and go and use it to analyze data. You mostly work with data engineers, but because they are your upstream, right? They build data, clean the data, and then your machine learning models pick from that data. You most likely work with DevOps engineer because they will help you to provision your environment, get the right permissions, get everything working well. So I think those are the three, then probably data analysts too. We have then product owners, business analysts. But I think when it comes to hands-on, those are probably your full circle. Yeah. And then regards to projects, so let me say project I've worked on in the past. So let me not say stuff about what I'm doing right now. So in the UK, I work with Virgin Media, and it's a telecommunications company. Like I said, machine learning is trying to find the whole scope is companies want to increase their EBITDA, right? You want to find ways to make tools do things for you. Right? An example is this: telecommunications company. You have a lot of customers calling in, like millions of calls in an hour, in a day. Someone wants to know why their Wi-Fi is not working. Someone wants to know why their phone is freezing. Now, the purpose of that task is to be able to map difficulty of customer requests to expertise, right? There are some of these requests that are very subtle. They are not difficult. So for those customers, we don't want our most experienced customer service representative attending to that because that is a waste of their, I won't say it's a waste, but they might be available for more difficult tasks than intern or a newbie customer service representative might not be able to answer. So imagine you call in today and your task is so difficult. And unfortunately, the call is routed to like a new person that doesn't understand the task. You first waste like 5-10 minutes telling the person, and the person says, oh, okay, chill. I don't know this thing. Let me call somebody else. Now that process takes time. So instead of doing that, why can't we get a machine learning in between? So as a customer comes in, we just tell you, oh, what are you coming to do today? So now you speak into the phone. I'm like, this is my task, I want to know what my Wi-Fi is not working. Machine learning extracts those tests, do some computation and rate the difficulty of that and say, okay, this is something small. Let me route it to customer service in this regard, right? So now you'll be shocked at how much that does, that little thing. So these are some of the examples of stuff that you can use machine learning for.
Wow, fantastic. This is so interesting. I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking, can I really just go into being an engineer for machine learning? But quickly tell us, I can see some persons here. I mean, before now we ask people questions, and a lot of people that registered for this webinar are not in tech, but they don't have tech background at all. What advice would you give to such a person who wants to transition into becoming an engineer just like you? What advice would you give the person?
So I would say you start bit by bit, right? Start from the basics. Don't get to, so I think the biggest problem in today's world is that there's so many information out there, just too many. So now somebody says A, another person says B, somebody says C, then you get really troubled. You don't even know where to start. So start with the basics, get your programming knowledge up there, then you can climb up the ladder. One thing I would say, like in the line of what Rufus also mentioned, is you can come in. So if you know you're not very hands-on, you can come in with an hands-on, less hands-on role, BA. Roles that will not require a lot of you being hands-on because that is quite demanding, right? So if you come in, you get familiar into the data environment, you understand what is what. There are a lot of jargons, terminologies. You start getting familiar, you meet people, now you start understanding. I believe with that, if you get that chance and you start with less hands-on role, it will even open your mind to things you have not even thought of before, right? Because you are from outside looking in. When you get in, you might even think, oh, I like this stuff, but maybe you don't really like it. When you come in, that opens up a new scope for you, and then that helps you to now break down your idea, your logic, and your next steps.
Fantastic. All right, that's so beautiful. Thank you. So guys, if you are joining us from Instagram, from YouTube, I know I'm already getting some questions already. If you are joining us here on Zoom, please, you can begin to drop your questions. We have Ofore, who is a product manager, and she's a consultant. We have Ariel, who is an engineer for machine learning operations. So if you have any questions for them, please begin to drop them. Quickly, I would like to ask the first question. from YouTube, and this person is directing this question to Ariel. The person said, how do you navigate the data science world? So the person said, I can create models. I know how to use Docker. I'm about to go into APIs. I've also done some AI projects on computer vision. I want to know what is required of me to get my first ML job. I think that's model, but ML job. Note, I'm self-taught, so I might be missing a few things. So I don't know if you got that, Ario, or
Yeah, I think the person has a lot of things covered already. So there are certain bases you have to cover, right?
Wow.
You understand containerization, like Docker, which is very important in production environment. You understand how to develop models. From what the person is saying, obviously he has knowledge of libraries like TensorFlow, Keras, Scikit-learn. So that is covered, right? And somebody that has worked on computer vision means he's now even a higher level. So you're not working with basic classical model because those can do computer vision. Now you're talking neural network, CNN, deep learning and stuff like that, right? So I think there's the basis. What I would say is there is two things, maybe there might be more. Two things. One is do as much as possible projects. If you don't have the experience, your project can't speak for you, right? Do your project, get them in your GitHub. If you have a website, get them there, give logical explanation. And then when you are doing your interview, you're meeting people, you're talking to them. So I can talk about my experience because I have worked in certain places. If you don't have that, then you talk about your project, which is what I did too. Right? So transitioning from academia into industry, you have to have projects so that somebody can say, okay, if I want to bring you in as a machine learning engineer, I have to test you on certain things. So you can say, oh, yo, I've done this, I've done that. And then you can show them proof. You can show them certain things and then they're like, good. So the first one is get your projects done. The second one I would say is start looking into certifications. That stuff really matters. So I'm talking about if you're going for a company that uses GCP, why not write GCP machine learning certification? So those are things that would really get you exposed because with those tools now, they open you up to cloud. You have not started working in a company, but they open you up to cloud. You start working in cloud domains. So I think those will probably be my big two advice.
All right, thank you very much. I believe, Shola, you are joining us from YouTube. I believe you got a fantastic response to that question. All right, I also have another question here from Instagram, and this person, I believe, is a lady. I guess that's why she's directing that question to Ofure. And she's saying that I want to be a product owner. I am in Nigeria. How do you think I can start this journey? And how long will it take me? I think this person is working currently in a bank or so, but I don't know. But she's asking how can she become a product owner and how long can it take her to become a product owner?
Okay, so I will draw examples from my own experience really and what I'm observing from my network. I think it all starts from you just finding an opportunity where you can get hands-on experience, no matter how small it is. So for example, my own experience started from, like I said, I moved into a tech/advertising agency. They actually focus on digital advertising. I came with my expertise on, marketing planning, digital marketing, but I kept eyeing the product management arm of the business. So I would sit in meetings that I didn't have any need to sit in. I would help them carry user testing that was none of my business and suggest that to the team, but during that whole course of the interaction, I remember the CEO at that time, he realized that this girl is quite interested in this, and he started, pointing out materials I could read, courses I could do. In fact, one of the UX designers at that time got me a scholarship on Google UX course that's also found on Coursera. I think it's actually on Coursera. So I did that course. I didn't pay for it, just simply by interacting with the people that already have hands-on experience in that team. You might not be able to change your job. So I could do that without sacrificing on my 9-to-5 income. But you might not also be in the environment where you could do that. So another thing I would advise, which also helped me, is you've got friends that are doing it. Try and reach out to them. Try to understand what they're doing. Then look out for some online challenges. There's some businesses online. I've forgotten the name. Ario, I don't know if you could help me here. You know those businesses where it's like it's like a founder platform, remote jobs, but there's Okta.ai. So it's a platform where you find um startup companies. They are looking for people to do certain roles. I will look for the link and maybe you could just add that to like your post com. So there's some platforms where people are just looking out for someone that can support on something or even volunteer, like some NGOs. So the more you talk to your friends and then you see the low hanging fruits that you can pick on, for you might be, it might again, don't get carried away about the role. Sorry, I might just need to say this. This is what I've learned. So I've got into the tech space and I realized it's not as fluffy and exciting as many people as many people think. You spend hours doing the same thing, doing testing. Actually, working on data is frustrating. I sometimes don't understand how people like Aria survive building models because all I'm doing is building a Power BI report. I'm building semantics at the back, and I'm wondering how do you guys cope? I'm spending hours, days, and something is just not adding up. The columns are mixed up. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
So I would say it's not just about the rules. Don't get fixated on I want to be a product owner. I want because at the end of the day, when you become a product owner or a product manager, there are times where you feel devalued because you're not the one doing the hardcore coding. Because at the end of the year, in the room and everybody's just talking, all serious and they're just like a cheerleader. There are times where you just feel like a house girl in the team. There are times where your trophy is very loud, and it's the same thing with even engineers, from what I can see. So what I've learned is focus more on the problem you want to solve and then create like a skill development plan. So in my own case, I looked at from where I was, which was the research part, and then entered design and then got into management and consulting, business consulting. So start from where you can talk to your friends, look at your current company. If you've got an IT department, get close to them. Just start helping, be an oversight basically.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much for that, Ofre. I think I have just one more question. I will ask that, and I think this question, both of you can actually respond to it. So maybe Ofre might want to start or Aria, but I think it's a generic question. So this person is saying that, please, how is, sorry that I'm laughing, but the person is saying that how available are the jobs, if for this tech stuff. So either that the person just asks casually that how available are the jobs. So I guess let's say UK, wherever you are. Thank God you are from the UK. Aria is from Canada, is in Canada. So you might just want to talk to us. How available are these jobs? If I'm a product manager, product owner, MLOps engineer, whatever, how available are the jobs?
Aria, do you want to go first? I'm fine because I just answered. Yeah.
Hello. Okay, I'll go first. So, with my experience, I think MLOps, especially in Canada, is very scarce. So, there's certain field that we know we need more headcounts. So, MLOps is one of them. DevOps is one of them. So, those I can say, if you're solid, you know your stuff, you should get in quite easily. And I would say very similar to the UK too. So those two I'm very familiar with. I wouldn't say more for the other field.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Hopefully you want to tell us something about UK, maybe general?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing also with the Canada market, like Ariel said. The jobs are there. I remember always just looking and when you're applying, you see 3,000 jobs where you search. Even when you use advanced filter, you're like, sorry, alone, where is my own job in this list? The jobs at like we were saying, is there. But the question really is the qualification, the experience. Do you understand that niche? So I think that's what has happened over time. Like I explained, they're looking for product managers that have a particular, set of skills. It could be in the UX design space. It could be service design. It could be a product owner with MLF, and that's ML. Sorry, I'm mixing up the words. Where you get machine learning expertise. Yeah. It could be someone in a sector. So I think it's about finding that way to get your hands dirty quickly, keep practicing, and then you can start telling your story from there.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, I'm going to pick it up from where Ofre just stopped, that the jobs are there, but are you qualified? And picking the words of Ario, if you are solid, I love that word. I mean, if you are solid, and the truth is, I don't think self-learning alone can give you that solid whatever you're looking for. And just like Ofre said, that for her, one of the things that really helped her were the network she had. And she mentioned some names. She mentioned Bode, she mentioned Peter. You know, the quality of mentorship or relationship or network you have that can pull your hands up. And she also mentioned that when she started, she had someone that paid for a course for her, a scholarship, you know, something like that. So why am I saying this? One of the things we do here, or that ATC gives or renders, is mentorship opportunity. Perhaps you're in Nigeria or you're in the UK, you're in Canada, wherever you are, you're saying, look, I want to get into this. Please, ATC is here to guide you. One of the things ATC does is to hold you by your hand. Even when you get the job, ATC is there with you saying, look, I want to be with you as you are doing the job. Wherever you're having issues, you can always get back to us and we are here to help you. So that is one of the things that ATC is doing to help people across the world, any line of tech, being it a business analyst or a business analysis, IT project manager, maybe product owner, project manager, whatever it is, you can always reach out to ATC to guide you. All right, but I'm going to ask the last questions and then we'll close it for today. Maybe I should start with Ario again. So Ario, finally, where do you see the future of machine learning heading to? What do you think about the future of machine learning? Yeah,
that's a billion-dollar question. So it's very difficult to say, right? I think the sky is not the limit, right? And one thing that will even make you understand that in machine learning, in every field we have like top guys. Einstein is wired in astrophysics. In machine learning, we have three guys. They call them the godfather of AI. Yann LeCun, Yoshua Bengio, Geoffrey Hinton. Those three guys, they are the top guys, right? Like I said. Even they don't agree on the future of AI. Two of them are the fact that I think we need to slow down this thing. It might get crazy. Yann LeCun is like, nah, we're not slowing down. So if those guys do not even understand like where it's going, so how much more? But one thing I would say is that two things: IoT, Internet of Things. That is where like machine learning will be well. For example, you have your fridge in your house, right? So your fridge is supposed to have basic stuff, milk, bread, all of those things. We will get to a point where I don't need to go to my fridge to check, do I have bread? And I'll go to Walmart to get bread. My fridge should be able to understand that, your milk is getting reduced. So I need to make an order to Walmart, and Walmart will send it without me like being in the loop. So that is one part. And then the second part that we are really aiming towards is AGI, right? So instead of AI, artificial general intelligence. So what that means is that most of the stuff we are right now, they are very good at doing one thing and one thing alone, right? So you have driverless car. That model in that car can navigate the road. If you tell it to sing for you, maybe it doesn't know how to do that. So AGI is ML, machine learning that will be able to do like almost everything, just like human being. So human being can drive, can swim, can run. And I think that is where probably the future will go, if I would say.
Wow, fantastic future. I'm looking forward to really hear. Thank you. Oprah, I'd like to ask you the same question. Where do you see the future of product management, product ownership, business analysis, and the likes? Where do you see their future?
Yes, so I think that looking at that question, really, there's this interesting thing that I'm currently pushing in my network as at work. A lot of times when we're talking about digital transformation, and from an enterprise perspective, they always look at it as adopting a particular solution. So like AI is such a big buzzword now that everyone is thinking of, okay, how am I going to integrate AI? And all I see businesses literally doing is changing the interface of ChatGPT and calling it adoption of AI. But what I see the future for product management really is how do you really think big about the integration of technology and business models? So it's not just about, we're just doing a program of digital adoption, digital transformation, but how is your business itself going to be 100% digital? So the way we've been looking at businesses like your, what they call them, Facebook, Google, and we look at them and say, okay, they are internet companies. Now, the question is, how is a food business going to be an internet company completely end to end? You know, the experience of it, the business model itself. How do you convince the stakeholders to quickly come on board? I think the struggle I still see is we've still got a lot of Donald Trumps in power. So until they're dead at some point. But right now, we have to start getting ourselves ready. So you're going to have a lot of product managers that will not just be focused on just the capturing of, you know, requirements and roadmap design. Like I said to you guys, which I'm already doing for myself, is you have to understand those technical opportunities and start integrating it with the business model itself. So having those seamless conversations, because you have these days we still have IT departments and then you've got other departments, but the IT really now has to, everyone needs to be involved. Do you understand? Everyone needs to understand how, as a finance person, how will IT empower me? As everybody, it's not just about the tools you use, but even how you work, how you think. So that's what I think is the future now, that I can see for now is your business model itself. You know, how's it going to be disrupted? How can you quickly pivot and not just adopt it too?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. I mean, it's been an awesome 1 hour plus spending it with experts, senior persons, colleagues in the industry, Ofure and Ario. I like to say a very big thank you on behalf of all the audience this evening, and I believe it's still morning in Canada where Ario is. Thank you so much for having us, for giving us your time. We really do not trivialize this. All right. I'm sure that our audience, you might want to just throw some emojis of you maybe clapping or telling our audience how much you are grateful. Thank you so much, everyone. We believe you got value today. We look forward to having you again in this platform, and we hope that then it will be a very fantastic one. Thank you so much, Ario. Thank you so much, Ofre. Please have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Thank you.